Computer Science A, Unit 7, Array List, Lesson 5, Selection Sort. The objectives of this lesson are for you to understand how the selection sort algorithm orders an array of data, to write code to implement the selection sort algorithm in Java, and to understand the advantages and disadvantages of using the selection sort algorithm to order the elements of an array. For our two sorting algorithms, we will be focusing on understanding their code with arrays. The code for array lists would be similar, but most AP exam questions focus on these algorithms using arrays. The goal of a sorting algorithm is to put the elements of an array or list in a certain order. The selection sort is one of the simpler sorts we can use. It performs as follows. Find the smallest value in the array, swap it with the current position, starting at the first element. Move the current position over one to the right. Continue these steps until you reach the end of the array. Now, let's say you have an array set up as follows. 21, 79, 64, 67, 56, 12. First, you find the smallest value in the array. Well, that happens to be the value 12. So now you're going to swap it with the current position. So I'm going to take 12 and put it in the first position at location 0, and 21 is going to go to the end of the list. So notice now I have 12 and 21, and everybody else in between stays the same. Now, I'm going to move the current position over 1. So now I'm looking at this location. And I look at 79, 64, 67, 56, 21. I find that 21 is the smallest. So now I'm going to swap and put 21 here and 79 back here. And I'm going to continue these steps until I reach the end of the array. So now we move over to 64. 64, 67, 56, 79. 56 is the smallest of those remaining. So we're going to put 56 here and 64 here, as is done here. Then we move down and we're looking at 67 and 64. We swap these. When we get to this location, 67 gets compared to 79. So it goes through the loop. It iterates. But there's no swap because 67 is smaller than 79. And then again, it gets to the very end and it realizes 79 is the smallest between 79. So it iterates, but there's no swap done. And so now we have done the selection sort, and our list is smallest to largest in order. Now, let's take a look at the code. So, looking at the code. In terms of code, when dealing with algorithms, you're often going to have two loops, one inside the other. On the AP exam, you might see a selection sort implementation that looks like this. For int j is set to 0, j less than elements.length minus 1, j plus plus. So let's start at the very first index. Then we're going to make that the minimum index. So min index is set to j. Now for int k, this is our inner loop. We're going to go through the array to the right. So k starts out at j and continues to the end. And then if element sub k is less than element sub min index, we swap out the min index, compare the values, and if you find a smaller element, keep track of that index. So once we get out of this loop, okay, this loop is the loop where we find where is the smallest value. Then int temp is set to elements sub j. So we swap in the minimum value. We put the minimum value in a temporary spot. Then that wherever the minimum was, we put the current value. Then we put the minimum into the small index. Okay? Note, if another min is not found, j is the min index. Okay? Let's take a moment and take a look at this code. Okay, does it make sense? Essentially here you're taking and you're putting the big index, whatever was where it originally was, into a temporary value. Then you're going to put the minimum value into J, and then you're going to put that bigger value where the smaller value was found. Okay? Then you might be asked a question like this. What is stored in the following array after 2 passes of a selection sort? So you have to look at the first pass. So the first pass, we go through, we find that 24 is the smallest value, and so it's down here. And now we're going to look at this part. And we come through and we look at 46, 72, 62, 67, 50. 46 is the smallest, so there's no swap. And this would start the third. So here is what it looks like at the end of 2 passes. That concludes lesson 5. It's unlikely you will be asked to write the selection sort, but you do have to understand how it works, the premise of it, and you've got to be able to trace through it and recognize it in code.